So, first things first, you need to have a goal to understand how much you need to save for retirement. And that can vary depending on when you want to retire and what your goal is. Some people might want to retire in 50, 55, 60, 65, and all of that is going to look different. So, remember, first thing, set a goal and understand when you'd like to retire. So the big question that you might have is, how do I set a goal? How do I come up with that number? How do I know how much I should be saving for retirement? So before we begin talking about the things that you should be doing, we are going to talk about two rules that are going to help you understand what this would look like. The number one rule is 25x rule, and the number two rule is the 4% rule. Now let's understand what each of this means. So let's understand what the 25x rule is. The 25x rule is basically multiplying 25 times your annual expenses today that you will need for the next 30 years of your retirement without worrying that you are going to run out of money. Again, what you need to understand is basic, if you're looking to come up with that number, 80% of what your expenses are today is generally a good rule of thumb for how much money you will need in retirement. So to give you an example, if you think your annual expenses are going to be 50,000 after you retire, just multiply that by 25 and you're going to come up with a 1.25 million number, and that is how much you're going to need for retirement. Now, how did I come up with that 50,000 number? It's very simple. It's basically 80% of how much your expenses are today. So calculate what your expenses are today for the year, come up with that 80% number, and that is how much your annual expense is going to be. You will multiply that by 25 and you will have a rough estimate of what that number will be. Again, if you want to have the same lifestyle that you have today, this is a good way to do it. However, if you have like really ambitious goals after retirement, which means you want to travel the world or you do want to do something cool, then maybe you need to keep all of your 90, 100% of the money that you're making today to kind of live that lifestyle. So you have to come up with what works for you, and that is why that goal setting is important. And there are plenty of things available for you to come up with that number. But if there is one thing that you need to take away from this 25x rule, and if you did not understand anything of what I said, the thing that you should take away from you is come up with a number that you think you will need every year when you retire. Multiply that by 25, and that is your number. So again, to reiterate, if you think it's going to be 50,000 is what I will need when I retire, multiply that by 25. That's going to give you $1.25 million, dollars, and that will last 30 years for your retirement, and you don't have to worry that you're going to run out of money. So let's talk about the 4% rule now. The 4% rule says that you can safely withdraw 4% of your retirement portfolio every year, and this takes into account the inflation. And so you don't have to worry about running out of money if you have the 4% rule. The 25x rule was actually a prerequisite for the 4% rule. Again, if you want to take something away from this, imagine you retire with a $1 million portfolio. The 4% rule says that the first year you can actually withdraw 40,000. The second year, it's going to take into consideration the inflation, whatever that is, 3 to 4%. Let that be $1,200. And next year, you can withdraw 41,200. So every year, you are withdrawing slightly more because it's taking into consideration that inflation, and you still don't have to worry about the fact that you are going to run out of money or anything. The important thing, however, to note here is you have to make sure that the money that you're retiring with, you have to keep that invested in this process. Otherwise, your money is not growing and the inflation is happening. So again, do not do not overcomplicate this, and I do not want to overcomplicate this. I spoke about two rules. One is the 25x rule, and the other is the 4% rule. What both of these rules are basically telling you it is that how much money you need to comfortably retire, and why this is a good way to do it because it takes into consideration the amount that is coming from inflation or any of the other external measures, and you don't have to worry about running out of money.